Governor Gavin Newsom is with us. We dressed up for him, but he definitely dressed better than we did for this one. Hey, good morning, and thanks for coming on.
It's good to be here with my suit and tie, and it's good to be on with you.
Tanya, who's in the corner there, this is the first blazer I've ever seen, so it takes a governor to get this team to dress up. I'll tell you that.
We won't talk about how you're dressed, Ryan.
This is I tried to do my hair in a similar fashion, just so you know.
Oh God.
We literally all changed.
Don't even go there.
No, listen, we have some serious stuff and some fun stuff. But first of all, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for communicating. Thank you for being early with making some tough decisions. I think you can see the impact of that here in the state of California, even though we've gone through some very tough 24 hours here. So thanks for that.
I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you.
Governor, the 6 indicators, because I was thinking, I want to ask him about dates, hours, times, weeks, economic pressures, those kinds of things. I know you're going to say, I'm not looking at that. I feel all of that. I see all of that. I'm aware of all that. But you're talking about those 6 indicators. So within those, are you seeing signs of hope? And inside those, which ones are showing some good signs?
Yeah, you just implied something we had made public. We also saw some real rays of hope. We saw hospitalization numbers decline. We saw the number of people in ICUs decline. And we saw these other categories for the first time decline as well. And those are people under investigation that are likely to have the virus. Those numbers started to drop. So we're seeing a flattening of the curve. We're seeing some stability. And that gives us some confidence that at least one of our indicators will show a green light and allow us then to move forward to those others 6 in total that will ultimately determine the when, or the answer to the when question.
So how are you answering that right now? How are you answering the simple question, when can I go back to work? When can I go back to life?
So we answered with the first revision of our stay-at-home order, the first modification. So that was a significant day by providing more access for non-emergency services, non-COVID-19 services in our hospitals and our healthcare delivery system. So people can go back in for checkups and for scheduled surgeries and the like. It may not seem significant to you, but it was very significant to us because the most precious thing we have is our capacity in our healthcare delivery system to meet the surge. So you don't have the headlines we've seen in other parts of the country with people being overwhelmed. The fact that we feel we have the resources in place there and stabilize that space, that is a foundational point. So the answer, subsequent question and an answer is, all right, now what about me outside of the healthcare system? And we're looking region by region right now, recognizing not every part of the state, not every part of the country is exactly the same, to begin to answer that in a much more bottom-up way and a much more dynamic way by looking to expand the definition of essential and begin to start pulling back. But again, that's predicated on other green lights, other indicators.
How important are these tests? Do we have enough? I know some are on the way. I saw that yesterday in your press briefing. What can you tell us about the testing and the key to our future with those?
So one of those indicators, exactly spot on, is our testing capacity. Look, if we were able to exponentially, I'm talking multiples of 10 times, increase our testing capacity, and then be able to track and trace, as we do, by the way, already in this country, particularly in the state of California, if you have HIV or AIDS, STDs, back in the TB measles days, we have tracing protocols. If we can expand those tracing protocols by getting more tests, getting a deeper and broader army of volunteers and paid staff to do tracing, then we can start isolating, quarantine people, and that will allow us to open up sooner. The good news in California, we've gone from just 2,000 tests a day, will be at 25,000 by the end of this month, and then you'll see multiples increased beyond that. So it's happening. It just can't happen soon enough, but in the next few weeks, that testing and the tracing capacity will be made very, very broad and available.
Governor, you mentioned the tracing. We're doing that. We have been doing that, but is it done now in a different way with different technology and different methods because of this crisis? Or will it be that way?
Yeah, well, it's a very methodical process. We have some of the smartest, most highly trained state workers and primarily county contract-based workers that do this tracing. And I'll tell you, the state of California, and as a fifth-generation Californian, as a former mayor of San Francisco, the HIV and AIDS crisis brought the tracing capacity to a whole nother level. And we've respectfully, had some outbreaks and increases in gonorrhea and other STDs. So some of the tracing efforts have even been expanded even more recently. So you build off that framework, which already exists, and those tracers become trainers for a workforce that will be repurposed. Our goal is 10,000 tracers. And we're creating an online academy, and we're getting these experts from, again, the counties primarily to help support the state workforce to augment that. And we're hoping in the next few weeks that workforce will start being distributed throughout the state.
I know you've been focused and you've been hopeful throughout all of this. Are you feeling a sense of that because you're seeing glimmers of hope inside these indicators? Are you feeling that now?
Look, Ryan, we were the first state to move with the stay-at-home order, and it had not 40 million Californians stepped up and met that moment, I wouldn't be in a position to say yes. The fact is, this curve never peaked like other states. You never saw a big rise in the total number of deaths and hospitalizations in a very short period of time. California was able to flatten that curve early, and because 40 million people practiced physical distancing, stayed at home disproportionately, we're in a position. But the worst thing we can do, it's like analogous to going skydiving, and then all of a sudden you open up your parachute and you say, oh, it's slowed down my rate of descent, so now I can take the parachute off before you land. We'll literally put lives at risk if we pull back too soon. And I know people want to get back to the beaches.
You worried about this weekend? It's supposed to be really nice this weekend.
I'm deeply concerned about it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Ryan. I think all of us have this false sense. I'm young and healthy, and look, more people may have had it. I may have had it, had no symptoms.
Right.
But respectfully, it's not just about us as individuals. It's about the impact we have on our neighbor, or worse, our grandparents, or someone else whose lives quite literally could be put at risk because we didn't know, because we were asymptomatic, that we had the disease and we're spreading it. So all of us have to take a little personal responsibility, not only for themselves selfishly, but for others they come in contact with.
Governor, with us right now, a couple of quick things. I know you had some good news about student loans. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, people won't have to pay their student loans at least for 90 days. We did this 90-day, what we call forbearance. Won't impact your credit rating, no late fees, no fines associated with that. And that will impact over 1 million people in the state of California. Across the country, other states are doing similar things, and we hope it will impact tens of millions more folks. But student loan debt is so oppressive, never goes away. Yeah. Some of us, I had it, I think I was like 34 years old when I finally paid off my student loans. Some folks on my staff are in their 40s, some in 50s that are still paying them off. And so I can imagine how many people listening, watching are in a similar place. But at least in California, over 1 million people won't have to pay those for at least 90 days.
Curious, Patty, you can specifically ask the governor this, but I know that we were talking about your mom, Patty, and she's filed for unemployment. She's waiting for her check. So what's going through her mind?
Yeah, my mom lost her job the minute the safer at home order was implemented, and she immediately, I helped her go through the signing process online, but she has not received her first check, and that worries her. And then her worry also is like, am I going to get my job back?
Yeah. On the checks, and I'm very sorry to hear about your mother, and maybe and it sounds flippant, but I love to talk offline because she should have received that check. 3.9 million people have received their checks just since March 15th. We have distributed just shy of $4 billion just since March 15th. It's an unprecedented number of people. We had a few thousand people a day, less than 3,000 a day filing for unemployment insurance. We went up to 120, 125,000 a day. Now, just since mid-March, we've seen 3.3 million new people file for unemployment insurance. And so it's overwhelming. And I can't imagine for your mom how overwhelmed she may feel, because you have that on top of the question you also posed is what happens to her job?
Right.
And that's why and we announced a few days ago, we had Bob Iger of Disney make the announcement with me. Yesterday, we had Tim Cook of Apple as part of our economic recovery task force. Janet Yellen, the former Fed chair, is also part of our task force. She is working with us. We've got the industry, not just in Hollywood, but tech industry, ag industry, and social justice warriors all working together on an economic recovery strategy and package. So we're working in real time to jumpstart that as well, so I can answer that question for her and millions of others like her.
Governor, I also know you were talking yesterday about the need for volunteers in the state of California. It has been remarkable to see. You know, we're originating out of Los Angeles, and what I love about LA, it's a big city, but it's full of tiny towns, tiny communities. It's full of neighborhoods. And when something bad happens, you know, we come together. We really do. And I think we've seen that throughout the state, which has got to make you proud. And one of the things that you are now saying to those here in California is we need your help. Yeah?
Yeah, it's just, boy, Ryan, that spirit is so alive and well. And I'll tell you, if you feel down and you feel like this, you know, you kind of given up the politics, the partisanship, the polarization that's been so dominant in our political life and social lives in the last few years. If you're really feeling down about that, just consider what's going on in this state and states across the country where people are putting aside their political differences by and large, not exclusively, and are helping out neighbors, not asking who you voted for or who you intend to vote for this November, not asking if you're from rural California or rural or urban center. And so for us, we created a website called californiansforall.ca.gov, Californians for All. In the first few hours, 22,000 people filled out an application saying, I want to contribute to the food bank. I want to contribute blood to the blood bank. I want to make calls to seniors just to check in and see how they're doing mentally, not just deliver food for them physically. And it's just a perfect proof point and example. In addition to that, Ryan, we have all these celebrities that reached out to us, from Snoop Dogg to, you know, Larry David, and folks in between, folks you know well, like Kim Kardashian, and did these amazing PSAs because they use their networks to break in where I can never break in. And that's also the spirit of this moment as well.
Governor, Snoop Dogg is on the line. Can I put him through? I want to be on that call. I want to be. Hey, I'm just curious. Are you, so, you know, we're at home, we're having meals with our families. There's this amazing sense of bonding that's happening because we are getting a chance to spend time with people we may not have had a chance to spend time with so much. I know that you're not always at home, but when you're home through this, is your cell phone on the table? Do you get a chance to put it down? How is that working for you?
It's on the table, but it's always on my mind. I've got 4 kids. The oldest is 10.
Yeah.
And those kids are getting to know each other. They're brothers and sisters. We're getting to know them at a whole nother level. And we're also, like so many millions of people listening and watching, and, you know, we're trying to educate them as well. And, you know, it's one thing to have a teacher educate your child. It's another when you try to educate your child, and it's tough. And I'll tell you, I walked in a few weeks ago. I got home a little late, a little later than I was supposed to. And one of our kids wasn't asleep. She should have been in bed for 2 hours. And my wife just looked at me with that look. Everybody's seen that look. And I knew that is now my responsibility. And she was breaking down because mom had told her that she wasn't likely to go back to school and see her friends. And, you know, she reacted differently than perhaps you and I, but because she couldn't communicate the way you and I communicate, she communicated by, you know, throwing things on the floor and, you know, acting out a little bit. And, you know, we all going through that, and it's all human. It's beautiful on one level, and it's very trying and challenging. I'll just say one final word on this. Ryan, with respect to you and me, women, they have the brunt of this. And I got to tell you, the moms, if we never said thanks, you want to talk about heroes, those moms and caregivers, boy, this next Mother's Day better be
I was going to say, May 10th. Remember, you put that, have someone put that in your calendar. May 10th.
Beautiful.
It's a big day. I know you've got to run. I want to wrap up just with one other thought, going back to these indicators. When you see a green light, when you see the sign that we can relax something, we can move forward, we can enter a new phase, what happens? What's the process? How fast will you get to us to tell us? Give me a little forensics on that.
By noon every single day, I'm going to get right in front of you and millions of Californians and let them know what I know in real time. Look, the only thing we have together is trust. And our capacity to meet this moment is at the speed of trust. And our biggest anxiety right now is the one everybody's highlighting, is that there's increasing divisions now, a lot of political divisions, party divisions, geographic divisions that are starting to form. And my biggest fear is that could break us apart right at the moment. Let's not run the 90-yard dash. We're so close. Cross this finish line together, but do it thoughtfully and do it in a staged and modified way. The new normal won't come back until there's a vaccine, won't come back till there's herd immunity. But we can have some semblance of normalcy with modifications, but we have to have a public health frame first, not a political frame first.
Governor Gavin Newsom, GGN, everybody. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it, and we'll see you. We'll see you on the news.
Great to be with you guys. Thank you.
Gavin, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I get the sense from body language, there's a lot of hope brewing here.
Right.
There's corner turning brewing here. I mean,
We're not on the other side yet, but we're getting there. Like there's a slim light at the end of the tunnel. I can see it.
All right. So, he was talking about volunteering. If people are wondering, what can I do? Staying at home is something you can really do. I mean, that's a big deal. And that's an important thing to do. But also volunteering. So, California volunteers.ca.gov.